Hi, my name is Shayna Bayo, and I will be talking about Project 2. My project is a daycare search portal where I have a file of all the current daycares in San Diego, and I created an array list from the earlier project, and I put all of those daycares in an array list. And now I've created a GUI, and specifically I mostly spent my time making a JTable where you could basically put all of the daycares in this JTable and you can search for it through that way. So first I'm just going to show you how it works. So here's my JTable. It's a lot of daycares. I have a scroll panel here, which you can go through all of them. It makes this a lot easier to look at. And here's my different headers, the columns, which is by the type of the daycare, the name, status, the citations, which are like warnings, the address, city, and zip code. And you can filter, sort them. You can click on this, and it'll, you can sort it by school age daycares, or basically the other way around. You can also do the same way. I figured out how to do it that way by just clicking these. So another thing you could do is that I created a JText field right here, and with this JText field I also created radio buttons, name, city, zip code, status, and if you click a different radio button, it will be able to help you search specifically by that column. So right now the default is the name column. So if I type in here and I just want to search by name, I could say, oh, let me look for an ABC daycare. And so now in the name column, you can see that there are four daycares that have the name ABC. Or if you were trying to look for just Montessori daycares, now you can see there's a bunch of daycares that has the name Montessori in there. Now if you were looking specifically for a city, I might just put this random button here just because. But now if you want to look for a city, you could say, oh, I'm trying to look for specifically only San Diego. Then it will only do San Diego right here. You could also do status, and you want to just look at closed daycares, and now it'll filter by this closed daycares, which is, there's a lot. So that's what my application looks like. It's pretty simple. Okay, now let me show you the code. So for this code, I did an MVC pattern. That's how I figured out how to plan it all out. With this, my main application, I called it the MVC one. Basically with the MVC pattern, you're going to have a view class, which I called the daycare view class. This helps to just plan out the whole GUI system and how it looks. So with my GUI, I created a main panel, which is called the filter panel. And then from there, you have to have a constructor that creates that everything. From that panel, I then added a table model, which is the JTable. And there I have my all the different components that I need for the JTable, which is right here. And then I have a method called build panel, and that's where you add different components to that panel. For this one, I put a J label there, a JText field, which I called filter text, and I created radio buttons, which I then added to the panel. With these radio buttons, I only wanted one radio button to be selected at a time, so you have to use a button group. And then from there, I added all the different radio buttons to that button group, which is right here. So this is very simple. I've already showed how to do GUIs before. That part was pretty simple. The part that wasn't that simple was trying to create a JTable. I read a lot about JTables, specifically from the Java tutorials. With this one, with the JTable, I had to make a custom JTable, extending the abstract table model, which has specific inherited methods. For this, it's a little complicated. The table model basically builds up and creates all the different components for that table, like the headers, which I created right here, using an array list. And then it gets those using my array list, which I have here. I called it the daycare list. This is actually kind of like the model view, but instead of calling it the daycare model, I just ended up calling it the daycare list. Originally I had it as the daycare model, but then I realized this is the daycare model. This is the actual data of the whole application, which is getting the array list. I created the array list here. This is the method for that, and I added their items to the objects to the array list. I have a method called read file where I read from the file and then add each component to the file. I used string tokens. This shows how I use arrays because I didn't talk about using arrays in the previous project, but this one shows how I'm using an array here, using specifically string tokens. I have an array with the brackets, and I'm adding to that array. I'm also at the same time adding array to the array list. So there's that. Going back to my view class, here's the view class. This is the whole table model class, which has a way to show how to get the row count, get the column name, etc. And then what's really important with the daycare view class is you have to register a listener, which then reads from has access to the daycare controller. And this way you can add an action listeners and also the document listener, which helps with whenever you're typing into the JText field, it creates an action event, and that helps the day controller read from that. So this one is just an action listener for the radio buttons, and then this new filter uses is filtering. This one just filters the daycare. This new filter method helps to filter the JText field when you're typing. So for this, it's kind of a little complicated to understand, but this part right here shows if you're clicking on a certain radio button, then it's only going to filter by that specific column 1 or column 6 or column 7, etc. And that's how I just created a bunch of if statements to say which one it's filtering by. Okay, and then here's the daycare controller class. This implements the action listener and the document listener. So the action listener is mostly for the radio buttons, and the document listener is the listening to the events of what's happening when you're typing into the JText field. I use switch statements for this one. You don't have to use switch statements, but I did it for this because I just like the way it looks. Actually, this was not even necessary at all, but I just felt like doing it. Anytime you click on each of the radio buttons, it pops up with a J option pane saying, like, a pop-up thing saying, enter text to search by daycare name, blah, blah, blah. That was unnecessary. I just felt like doing it. I could have taken it out, but I didn't. This part right here is for the document listener. This is just for updating the changes for when you're typing into the JText field. It lets you know what's happening. So I think this is it. Thank you and have a great day.